Hey there, modern math teacher. Question for you. Have you ever been in the middle of the lesson and listen, friend, I know you have. You're explaining something, you know it's important, and then all of a sudden, you know what's coming. A student raises their hand, if we're lucky, and they say, when am I ever going to need this? And, honestly, as an Algebra 2 teacher, I could be hearing that all the time because the topics that we teach sometimes don't feel very connected to our students, right? And when we get that question, oftentimes we as teachers freeze. And maybe you respond with something like, well, you're going to need it next year for whatever it is, or, oh, it's on the test, which is Monday, or maybe just like, listen, trust me, it's important. Okay. But if we're being honest, none of those answers are really convincing to our students because they're not convincing answers for why they should bother learning something, right? Today, we're going to talk about what that question is actually telling you about your students and why it might be one of the most important pieces of feedback that your students are actually giving you in your classroom. Hey, you guys, welcome to this week's episode. I'm Kristen Moore, your host here on the Modern Math Teacher Podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to break down why students are asking this question and why it's not just about their attitude, okay? What it reveals about how students experience math and how to start shifting your lesson so that that question comes up a whole lot less. And I know you're ready for that because all of us are ready for that, okay? So let's just start the conversation here. When our students ask us, when am I ever going to need this? They're really, honestly, they're not trying to be difficult. They're just asking like, does this matter? And really more specifically, does this matter to me? Why should I be investing my time and energy into this, right? And to be fair, that's a valid question because our students don't struggle to engage when our students see something as useful, okay? They do struggle to engage, though, when there are things that they feel are too abstract, too disconnected, or too irrelevant from their world. So that's when this question comes up. It's not a behavior problem. It's a relevance problem. That's what they're trying to tell you. Your lessons or your problems aren't relevant enough to them. And listen, you guys, that is not your fault. I want to make sure that we are crystal clear about that, especially if you are using a boxed curriculum. You aren't necessarily given the opportunity to present your students with that relevant information, okay? So again, not your fault, but we do have things we can do to fix it, okay? So if we think back to our students asking this question, when am I ever going to need this? And we look at some of those common responses that our teachers like to give. Like, you're going to use this next year. It's important for your future. You're going to need it for the test next week. It's on the SAT, which you're taking on Wednesday, by the way, right? Those answers are technically true. They're valid, but they're not meaningful to your students because your students, I promise you, are not motivated by something that's happening in the distant future, anything that is of vague importance to them, or this external pressure, okay? Things that your students are motivated by: connection, usefulness, novelty, quite honestly, and purpose, okay? So if we can help our students find that connection, see the usefulness, or understand the purpose, that's the moment we're going to get them connected to the content and locked in. If they don't see that moment, they're going to be checked out, okay? So let's talk about what does work for us. This is the most important of the real, relevant, rigorous connection. It's the relevance here, okay? You guys, our students don't need to see a perfect real-world example every time we teach something. But they do need to see one of these things happening to help make it relevant to them, okay? Help make it connect to them in one of those spheres. They do need to see a real decision that they could make. They need to see a scenario that they recognize. They need to see a problem that feels believable or a connection to something that they care about. This is where we start moving into the real world math that is relevant and real for our students, not just abstract real world math where you're skydiving off a cliff in Acapulco, right? Like, I remember that from my textbook in high school. That doesn't matter to my students. It doesn't likely matter to your students, okay? We do not want to be giving them these random word problems or forced scenarios. We want to help them see how the math actually connects to how the world works in a way that's meaningful to them. Now, listen, before you think, okay, well, I've just got to redesign everything. You don't, so don't do it. Ain't nobody about that life. We're working smarter, not harder here, okay? We want to start small with this. You can look at just one of your lessons for this week and ask yourself, where does this show up in real life? What decision could this help someone make? Or how could I tweak the context so it feels more real? And here's the thing, you guys, you don't have to do this alone. You can outsource some of this energy to an AI system. The Conmigo system, I love it. They have a button right there that says, make it relevant, okay? Real world generator. Go to those. See what it gives you. If it's not relevant to your students, try again. Or take their answer, throw it in your favorite LLM, Chatty G, Claude, whoever you're rocking these days. Ask it. Tell it a little bit more about your students and then ask it to help make something relevant to them. It can be as simple as, you are changing the numbers, you're adjusting a scenario, you're adding a question about the interpretation. Any of those small shifts can help make a big difference, okay? So if you are studying something, for example, this week we are working on solving exponential functions with graphs. Here's the thing. One of the scenarios was about when two bacteria populations, one overcomes the other. Do my students super care about the bacteria? No, but they do care about money, and money also grows exponentially. So I locked them in with our warm-up talking all about money. Well, if in the 3rd month, this account has a higher balance, but in the 6th month, this account has a higher balance, let's see, can we figure out when they're equal, knowing that they both have, continuous rate of growth, right? We did a quick sketch. They were like, oh yeah, there's going to be one point where they're equal. Great. What does that point mean? It's the months in which they have the same amount of money. Now they have this real relevant connection to themselves. They can go apply it to other real world things, okay? One small addition takes an irrelevant real world, admittedly, right? It's a real world problem, but it wasn't relevant to them at all. Takes that moment for them to connect to the topic, to make sense, to understand, and now they can take that and apply it to other real world scenarios. They can take it and apply it to just naked math, right? They could look at a graph now and be able to understand what those two curves are looking like if we're looking at an exponential. They can understand better and interpret what it means to be a solution in terms of that point of equality, okay? So one small shift can make all the difference, you guys. Because guys, it's a Tuesday. I was going to say it's a Monday. It's a Tuesday, and it's been a long day at work, okay? Let's be real. But here's the thing. Not all real-world math is created equal, okay? In the next episode, we're going to keep talking about that. We're going to break down the difference between those lessons that feel fun and lessons that are actually meaningful, because I promise you, they're not actually the same thing, and there's slight tweaks we can make to make it work. All right. Hey, you guys, if this episode got you thinking, and I've got something to help you take the next step. I created that free guide to help you decide when you should use projects versus when you should focus on practice in your math classroom, so you can start making those intentional shifts without overhauling everything. You can go ahead and grab that here in the show notes or in the YouTube description. And if you know another teacher who hears that question all the time, please send this episode their way. Until next time, you guys, keep thinking that just one small change is enough to make a difference. Keep considering what's going to be relevant for your students. And as always, my friends, keep it real.